Well, hello everyone, and thank you so much for being a part of today's webinar. It's called Empowering Pastors with Two New AI Cutting Edge Technology Tools. Sorry we couldn't get this title longer. We'll work on it next time. My name is Phil Thompson. My name is Phil Thompson. It's an inside joke. We have lots. Our webinars seem to have long titles. So we're going to introduce our other host here in just a moment. Thank you so much for being with us today. And this webinar will be recorded. We'll tell you how to get the recording in case you have to duck out or something. But I just want to say this webinar is brought to you, as usual, by StreamingChurch.tv. We're a company that serves churches. We've been doing it since 2001. And our goal for this webinar, in fact, really all our monthly webinars and everything we do, is to provide you resources for you and your ministry. And we will have Q&A at the end of this 30-minute webinar. We're going to see if we can do it in 30 minutes. But we also want to encourage you to just feel free to type in your questions anytime during this webinar. You can type it in the chat, and we will get to those here at the end. So let us quickly introduce our guests today. And I'm privileged to be working with these gentlemen. And Steve Lacy, tell us a little bit about who you are.
So Steve Lacy, I'm the founder of StreamingChurch.tv. Engineering background, been involved in ministry my whole life, but never as a pastor. So just boards and tech teams and things like that.
Leadership teams. You've been involved in ministry, even though you may not have been a senior pastor or an executive pastor. Michael Gray, who are you?
Well, I think you covered that part. I have been in the ministry positions, all of the seats at church as a staff member, other than senior pastor. And I love working behind the scenes and supporting and encouraging and helping and strategically helping people move their vision forward.
Yeah, and you're good at that. And as I said earlier, my name's Phil Thompson. I've been working with churches over 4 decades, and I did pretty much everything as well. I actually was a senior pastor for about 8 years and enjoyed it immensely. And I just love helping churches discover technology, use technology, and especially streaming videos. And we say all this because we really do understand the challenges involved in we understand the challenges involved in using technology. So that's why we do what we do here. All right, so let's kind of move on here. Let's talk a little bit about what we're going to do here. So what is AI and why should I care? So let me throw this question at Mr. Michael Gray. Michael, what is AI? And really, what's the big deal? Why should I care about it?
Well, I was pretty, as many people are, I was pretty skeptical about, what this AI thing would mean, what it's going to do. But for me, wow, it has really revolutionized the content that I'm creating, mostly text. ChatGPT is what I use most, and it is a natural language processing. I don't know if that makes sense, but I call that a magic copywriter. It really helps expand. You can put an outline, and it's going to give you a great fill in the body in between. And I really have enjoyed the tool so far. Image generation, yeah, and manipulation. I have played with that as well, and I've created some images for some ads where I couldn't get exactly what I was looking for, and sure enough, it gave me what I needed for an online advertisement.
Yeah, graphics, all that good stuff.
Video analysis and generation. My wife is using the generation part of that. She has an online school that's in all of the United States, and she has been building videos that are the welcome and explanation for each class. And every one of those are 100% AI generated videos, and they are really surprisingly good.
Wow. That's just a few of the things. And we do want to remind people that if you really want some more information on this, our buddy Kenny Jong actually put together AIforchurchleaders.com. That's the website. aiforchurchleaders.com. So you can find out more about it. He does a great job in describing it. He really has become an expert in it.
Yep.
So,
And daily tips as well in the menu of that website is a link to the Facebook group. And every day he's giving multiple tips on how to make these tools work for you and streamline your workflow.
it's really good to get this stuff. You don't have to be afraid of it, but we'll get into that later. All right, so let's boogie on here a little bit. AI is the next big thing. At least we think so. Do you think so, Steve Lacy?
Yes, I mean, this is a personal opinion, and I've been around since I'm the old salty guy here. Been around the internet before there were web browsers through my aerospace defense contracting stuff. So I've seen a lot of stuff come. I saw the internet come. I saw Web 2.0 come. I saw crypto come. I've seen, all these things that are supposed to be the next big thing. And I really do believe that since the internet, AI is going to be a tool that society can use and the ministry can use. It's something powerful. And the greatest, I think, saying for this is it is a tool. It can be used for good things and it can be used for bad things, but it's going to be a powerful tool and it can be used for ministry. So I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through several opportunities for AI in the church. This is kind of a header slide for that, and we're going to get into those in the next slides.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. So content creation is one of the things that AI can do. Michael, again, you're good at this with the content creation stuff.
Well, I'm definitely better now that I'm using AI. Website copy, I can't tell you. Years ago, I had a marketing company. I could never get the business owners to give me copy and images. Now you can just create them with ChatGPT and other tools. Post your posts for social media. You can make those much more engaging using AI. And newsletters. Oh, sometimes the bane of my existence is, writing copy for newsletters. Now it gives me great ideas. I have to adjust it and make it make sense in every case, but it's a huge time saver. Emailing your inner circle, contacting inner circle. You can use it for text messages. You can use it for just about anything where you're writing copy and communicating with people. You can use the tools. You can use it in a live environment to generate questions and answers and engage people at a better, deeper level, and certainly with your outreach. And as a matter of fact, our automated outreach system, we've used it to give us ideas on how to recraft those outreach emails that automatically go out to guests that come and visit the streaming page.
Yeah, and you say the follow-up, that has to do with our streaming tool. We have automatic follow-up. And of course, AI can be really beneficial for sermon preparation and analysis. So let me just briefly say that a pastor can use AI to search for relevant biblical text and commentaries on their sermon topic. A pastor can use AI to generate a list of well, let me get it going here on the graphics here. They generate a list of possible sermon titles and themes. A pastor can also use AI to create an online outline for their sermon. A pastor can also use AI to provide feedback on their sermon draft, and they can also use it, if they want to translate the sermon into multiple languages if you happen to use if you happen to have everything scripted out, or even if you don't. So all of us here, well, Michael and I and many of you here on this webinar, if you're preparing a message, it takes time, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But that's one of the wonderful things about AI. Sermon preparation and analysis is definitely something that's important. Mr. Steve Lacy, talk about analysis. You like data, Steve. You like stats. So what is so good about this?
From being part of church leadership and running a business, I like data. So And we're going to walk through just some areas where you can use AI, and then we're going to dive into where we've built some tools to support some of these ideas here. So one of the first ones is analyze attendance records. So you can go through and look, you can present a body of data and have AI go in and pull out the nuggets for you so that you can make adjustments in how you're doing church. So, figure out, I've got my new people are coming, but they're not coming back, or my young people are coming, but they're not coming back, or whatever it may be. There's things that are hidden in this data that if you apply some AI analysis to it, it will bring out those things as well. Donation patterns in how my donations are giving. I know we all go through a slump in the summer. This is kind of the toughest time of the year, but you can also look at combining data from other areas and your donation data to just lift out these nuggets so you can make better decisions about your thing. Now, this is supposed to say community demographics rather than community demonstrations, but looking at the demographics around your church, and so that you can analyze, how can I best meet the needs of my community? And you can use some AI to apply against your community demographics data. And then overall, all of this just helps you develop a strategy to win people for Christ. So to create a more effective church. So there's some tools that are out there that have not existed in the past that we can leverage. One of the people, this is just a free tip for if you've gotten into ChatGPT at all. We've been trained for the past 20 years by Google on how to find information. And you want to be concise and have the right keywords as you type them into Google. And with ChatGPT, you want to be just the opposite. You want to be verbose, explain a lot, and provide examples as though you were talking to an intern. So if you had an intern that came out, they don't know anything about the church, they don't know anything about a lot of things, you want to leverage your AI by being very verbose, explaining a lot. So as you go into ChatGPT, rather than 3 keywords and create some results for me, you want to say, hey, I'm a pastor of a church in a town of 50,000 people. We're trying to reach the rural community. How do I get those people involved? And here's some examples of things we've done in the past. You want to be verbose and think of it as an intern. So this is your unpaid professional intern that you can leverage within your church.
You want to be as
I'm
much
not sure
detailed as possible.
Oh,
Go ahead, Michael.
yeah, I was going to say, I didn't think Phil knew what verbose meant, so I was going to take a moment to pause there.
But please,
Just
yeah,
kidding. Just
I
teasing.
appreciate that. No, but
Yeah,
you really do.
that's a really good way to look at that, Steve. I hadn't thought in the context of an intern and how, you're going to give them a long list of explanations so that they hopefully bring you back the best results possible.
Yeah, assume nothing. Whereas Google, you assume everything. And you put some keywords in and go, give me some good results. So one of the things we're going to talk about that we've developed with streamingchurch.tv has to do with your church's online engagement. So we're going to kind of lay out the landscape. And this is based on some data of our own ministries that are using Streaming Church. Around 20% have chat disabled, where there's no chat at all. And I would call that no engagement. So you're not gonna be, you don't know who's there, you don't know how long they stick around, you don't know what their needs are. So that's because you don't have chat, and that's kind of the key vehicle. Next is those that do have chat but don't have a web host. And right now, around 52% don't have a web host. And that's somebody it's kind of like not having a greeter out in front of your church. So you don't make that first impression. You can't say, hey, welcome, and that sort of thing. So that can be considered low engagement. And next on the thing is some intermediate engagement. And that's where we do have a web host. And there's some, we'll call it good engagement. But a lot of the times these web hosts are untrained and lacking in their responses. They're there to be helpful, but they haven't been trained on how to become an expert web host. And that's somebody that can relate to people and is fairly fluent and connecting with people online. And right now we've seen around, I don't know, 10%, 12% or so have really good web hosts and are really engaging their customers. So, or they're not their customers, their online attenders, their guests, their online attenders. Yes. So engagement is key. So Phil, I think, is going to talk about why we care about engagement.
Yeah, there's a tremendous impact that you can have when you engage people online. When you're doing it right, your viewer really feels that their needs have been expressed and addressed. And that's so important. When you're doing this online, you want to really make sure you connect with that person online. And when you do that, it increases participation. And a good web host can do that. It can help out a little bit, as we mentioned. But an expert trained web host or church online host really can lead to high engagement. And high engagement really will enhance your community building. And I'm saying community because you can have community online. I've done it. Michael's done it. Steve's done it. We've been involved. And those of you who are on this webinar, you know that you can connect with people all over the world and you can build relationships. Yeah. So it's really important.
I just want to throw this in. We have someone on staff that's responsible for groups, and they have a saying. They say, known, noticed, and engaged is kind of I think that's their term. It says we have a little pre-service meeting, make sure that everyone is known, noticed, noticed, known, and engaged. So they want to make sure that you connect with people online. And so it's just because if they don't engage, these are people coming to the building, but it's the same as true for people coming online. If they don't engage, they're in and out.
Absolutely. And it leads to real-time feedback and adaptation. All right. So, and of course it will lead to giving and support. So those kind of things, there's all sorts of benefits when you really get engaged with people online. So how can the streamingchurch.tv AI web host improve your engagement? This is one of our tools that we are developing. We're excited about it. It has a lot of potential. How can this help? Well, let's just kind of jump into it here a little bit. Here's a quick little chart that we did. And if you look over to the left, like in early May, you'll see people participating in chats with this specific church. And they're doing okay on their main service times, 47, 36. But then, when they implemented the AI web host, look how everything just jumped up. It jumped. It jumped up into triple digits. And so you begin to see, now this thing is not perfect. We're not going to say it's perfect, but it helped enhance, and it led to more chat and more engagement. And that's what we're really talking about here today, how this can help. Steve, let's talk a little bit about another part of this AI chat.
So this AI web host tool is completely optional with streamingchurch.tv. It's something you can turn on or disable. As default, it's disabled by default. So if you're out there and you're a streaming church person, it's on your admin panel. You can turn this thing on and it will automatically begin to engage with your people. So, and it's not just people have you've interacted with your Siri devices or your Amazon Echo devices. And for me, I've been just really frustrated. This is an AI web host that knows what church they're with. It knows where they're located. It knows the church website. It knows information about your church. So it's going to respond for your church. So this is just an example. It's, hi, Crystal, thank you for joining us here. It's an adult worship of praise. We're blessed to have such a wonderful pastor and first lady. So it represents your church. And you'll notice as we go on here to the next slide here, it provides very rich and professional responses. It's every time you call on the AI web host, it's going to give you a sentence or two. It's not going to be, yep, nope, or yeah, that meets on, Thursday or whatever it is. It does a really good job. I've been really impressed with it, with how rich the responses have been. And we've thrown all kinds of different things at it and just challenging things. And we've been very impressed with how it has done. It's also context aware, meaning, and this is an example from just one of the churches where that knows who's there. It knows it's morning. It knows what church I'm in, and it knows what we're talking about in the chat room, and it'll give a rich response based on that.
Yeah, it's not
So-
just a one-liner deal, but it actually brings
Yeah,
in
it's,
some context and sentence.
The length, yeah, I think the length and the robustness of its responses really forces people to go, oh, and re-engage and continue to talk amongst the community there in Church Online.
Absolutely.
And yeah, this is from one of the initial churches that turned it on a couple of months ago. We've had more and more churches turning on, so you can go in and turn it on. It's kind of fun to play with as well. Just if you don't want to have it during your service, just turn it on and have your staff go in and try to stump it or see how it responds. So this is just from one of the pastors. This Citadel of Praise said they love the AI chat. Everything went well. So testimony back from the pastor.
We'll field questions if you have questions about anything we're talking about here. We'll do a Q&A here at the end. All right, so let's move on here. Let's talk about another tool, but let's set it up by talking about the good old-fashioned sermon preparation hamster wheel. Those of us who wrote sermons and did sermons for many years understand this, and Michael and I can relate to this. And there's a stat here by Tom Rainer. According to Church Answers and Tom Rainer, the average pastor spends about 16 to 18 hours per week preparing for the weekly sermon. I guess that didn't work for me. I had a lot more hours that I put in. That's the average, but to me, it was more than 16 to 18 hours when you count everything involved. And so, you go, you work on this, you work on your message, you craft it, you put some time and effort, you pray about it, you do all sorts of things, you rehearse it, and then you give it, and it's what we call in basketball one and done. Somebody signs up and it gets drafted or something in college. Well, your sermon in the old days was, all right, we did the sermon, there it is, it's done. We're all set. And then we go back on the hamster wheel and we go back and crank out another message. And I did this for 8 years, every single Sunday. And then as Michael and I both did as executive pastors, we would fill in and do things, sometimes 2 or 3 weeks at a time. So that this is what we struggle with. And those of you out there listening, you understand, you're working really hard, you go back. So what if we could do something else with this? You work really hard on it. What about some ideas for repurposing your sermon through AI? What about that, Mr. Steve Lacy?
Yeah, so now we have some tools that didn't exist a year ago that most pastors are probably not aware of. So you can, and we serve ministries all over the globe and have, I was going to say, just tons of on-demand sermons that are available, and they'll include it on their website. But it's just a super rich repository that if we combine some AI with it, I can go in and create transcripts of my former services and then store them in a database and then use that as a resource, either to help me prepare new sermons, or I have someone call on the phone and say, hey, I'm struggling with this. And you can search that database and go, hey, we've got a message that addresses that particular need, that you need to listen to that. And it could be right there at your fingertips. So the other thing is you can go through, and we're going to get into a tool that we've developed here, that you can summarize your sermon into any length of content that you may need to present in another environment. Say you need to, hey, that was a great sermon. It was an hour-long sermon, but I have the opportunity to speak to a community group for 5 minutes. I can use some AI to take that wonderful sermon and have it condense it down to 5 minutes and, redo that message in another environment, or record something related to it and post that on social media. It was another good place for it as well.
And then, and I apologize here. I should have gone to the rehearsal, guys. I'm driving this this webinar, and my bullet points are sometimes ahead of people or behind. But
no, that's fine.
No worries, we're fine.
Yeah. So one of the things AI can parse your sermon and automatically create content in another format. So, for example, I was just talking about it. Say I have a podcast that I need to do every week, or that I should be doing each week, and my sermon's too long for that, or it's it's a video context, and I could go through and automatically create a podcast for it. I can put together daily devotions for my people. Say that I want to send out a daily devotion either via email, or shameless plug, we have My Church Daily that will allow you to do that as well. So you can go through and have AI parse that for your church newsletter or whatever other materials. So you can take your sermon that works for Sunday morning and repurpose it very easily with some AI tools. So another option is you can take your sermon, have AI create the transcript of it, and then create new videos or new audio messages with it. There's several tools that have just hit the market this year for doing that. And we're going to show an example later on of us doing that, taking some text and having us train this AI to present a message in the pastor's voice. So this all leads to the tool that we've recently developed. So there's a couple of examples of some tools out there. Capwin Synthesia. Mike, is your wife using Synthesia, or am I wrong on that?
So she's making her informational videos about all of her classes with Synthesia.
Yeah, it's kind of, you guys listening should check it out. It's pretty amazing. You can choose a spokesperson, and they're a video personality, and you feed it a script, and that video personality recites your script for you.
And there are multiple language models. I'm not talking about different languages, but there are that as well. But you can say, I want it to be very professional, or relaxed, or casual, or conversational, and it'll adapt that video to the style that you want to present wherever you're putting that video.
Yeah, and you provide the message. Your wife is creating the message that she wants, a 30-second message. So it's a way and it looks like, wow, Cindy hired a studio actor and a studio and to put together her message. So there's a lot of tools that are just hitting the market out there that are just super powerful. And one of those tools is the AI Sermon Clipper. So we have created a tool. I mentioned earlier that you have a vast repository of recorded sermons that are available. And the way the AI Sermon Clipper works is you basically just go in and say, hey, I'm choosing this most recent message from last week, and you choose the video that you want to apply to the AI Sermon Clipper. And then on the next chart here, Phil, the Sermon Clipper will go through, take that video, and automatically transcribe it. Every word that is said in the message is created in a transcript, and it does I've been very impressed. So we even had some fairly poor audio quality ones, and it does a really good job deciphering what that transcript is. And then the AI comes in and says, well, what are the highlights of this sermon? And gives you a listing of the sermon highlights and it gives you a synopsis of each clip. They're usually about a minute long, and it gives you a social media headline suggestion for it as well. And then you basically here's some example of the clips. You say, I want to create the video clip for, the third one and the fifth one and the eighth one. In this case, I chose 3 clips, and it will go and create those clips, create the synopsis, create the social headline for you. And then that's ready for you to download or just push directly to Facebook or YouTube and publish it with that social headline. So you can leverage all of your messages. I mean, each week you can do this and, have something to send out maybe 3 times during the week to your social platforms.
And there's lots of social platforms out there now. They're growing by the day, but this is a great tool that you can use and get them out there. And that's what, studies are starting to show, that people are more inclined to watch a short little clip than your hour-long sermon. So at least it's a good opportunity to give people a taste of what you're doing, and you can send them back to your website and they can get more information. So, all right. So let's, Steve, you mentioned the AI. Did we talk about AI voice cloning, or did I miss that part? But let's go into it. And I can't hear you. Are you muted or not?
Oh, you're talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to you.
So this is one of the things that we may see in the future within our tool suite. But basically, you can go through and, using one of these third-party tools, you can train the third-party tool to know your voice. And we used 11labs.com is the one that we used for this example.
Let's play a few seconds of it, can we? And
sure.
let's see if anybody can guess who this is. Now, there's 3 of us on this webinar, right? That are talking. Let's see if we can listen to this here.
Barna research shows 32% of adults are explorers, aware of spiritual unrest but unsure Christianity is the answer. These feel a void in life but do not know biblical solutions.
Now, was that me? Was that me? No, it wasn't me. Was that Michael? No, it wasn't Michael. Who was it? It's Steve Lacy.
It was
Steve
not
Lacy's
me.
Clone. It was Steve Lacy's clone. It wasn't really him.
I actually didn't say one of those words there. We trained the tool, and Phil created a script, and it presented it in my voice. So there's tools out there. One of the things that may be on the horizon for us is being able to create through My Church Daily, which pushes to your Amazon Echo devices, a daily message. Right. So you could basically take your sermon and say, hey, I want to create 5 points from my sermon message and talk to my people that week.
It's not perfect. We tried cloning my voice, but nobody can replicate me. So it didn't go well. I'm being facetious.
Mr. Radio voice is hard to clone.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So let's move on here quickly here. Professional analysis of sermon content. This is something that AI can do. Tell us more, Mr. Steve Lacy.
So I'm not a pastor, but Mike and Phil play one in real life. And anyway, you go through, you can take your recorded message and have the AI identify strengths and weaknesses in your past message. You can go through and check for errors and then ask for suggestions for how to present a better sermon. So AI is out there. It's free to you. It can give you tips for improving your past sermons, and it can give you suggestions for a follow-up sermon.
All right. Good deal. All right. So we're going to take questions and answers here. I think we're almost done here. Hey, want to remind everybody, coming up next in September 12th, we're doing another webinar, and it's about new technology to connect with your seniors. We're trying to make this title longer, but this is what we've got right now. And it's going to be a great webinar. We have a lot of seniors out there. This is a great opportunity to connect with people that are a little bit older, and it's going to talk about how you can do that. So we'll give you some information on how to sign up for that in a minute. You can get today's recorded webinar. Just go send us an email, support@streamingchurch.tv, and the subject line should be AI tools, and we will send that to you as well. And then we also want to remind you, is before we take some questions and answers here, we are here to help you. That's really what we do. We're here to help you. We're here to support you, here to encourage you. We'll give you free guidance. We have a blog.streamingchurch.tv. It's got a lot of good stuff on it. We have the Church Solutions podcast, been around for a long time. We have great guests and great resources. And of course, we do webinars. Just go to streamingchurch.tv/webinar. That's the right domain, right, Steve? I always get that wrong.
Yes. That's for the recording, yeah.
All right, and then we do give free consultations. I had somebody online the other day that using another company, and they're having problems. They said, "Hey, we'll help you even if you don't go with us." And we do live support Sunday mornings, especially. So that's one of the reasons why you might consider talking with us. We want to help you in any way we can. All right, time for some Q&A here. Do we have any Q&A questions?
I got it queued up. Harry has a really good question. It's a little bit of a suggestion. It says, on the web host, I noticed that the response said AI web host. Can the name be changed to say something like Faith Church web host? It's a good
So,
question. Thanks,
yeah,
Harry.
one of the things that we struggle with or challenge with is right now we want to let people know that this thing is an AI web host. It's not a real person. So we kind of struggle with how to name this thing and just fell on the AI web host so people recognize it's not a real web host. But it's not, anything's possible with software. We may in the future have the option to be able to name your web host whatever you wanted to name it.
Good. And we also had from Vision for Life Ministries, they want to know, how does the image generation and manipulation work?
So there's some free resources out there. The most popular is Midjourney. And it basically, if you go to midjourney.com, you basically will give it a prompt. You say, hey, I've done this. I played with this. I said, give me an image of a Corvette surfing just to see what that thing looked like. And it comes up and it takes your text prompt, whatever you want it to do, and it'll create the images on the fly. Typically, we'll give you Midjourney will give you 4 different options, and then you can say, well, I like this upper right one, and I want to create some new variations of that. So it starts with a text prompt saying, I need a picture of an elephant ice skating, or whatever it may be, and it will go off, and based on that text prompt, will create that image. And then it'll allow you to say, refine it. Say, can you, the one that's skating, can you have it lift one leg, or, whatever, and it'll go through and iterate that image, creating till you get to the image you exactly want. And it's one of the nice things. It's free. It's not the easiest tool to use right now, but midjourney.com.
There are several others. So we talked about earlier, Kenny Zhong's website and Facebook group. Questions like these, you can jump in and ask, and that's what that group is specifically for. And they will generate responses to your questions almost immediately. A lot of people in there, really. So I've gotten stuck on several of these tools, but this AI image generation, I just created one for an ad campaign, and it's also another one for the upcoming webinar. I could not find the image I was looking for throughout all the repositories. So I just went to a different tool and asked for what I was looking for, and it generated that image really quickly. Do you guys know if Midjourney generates video, or is that more synesthesia, different tools?
Yeah, I think it's just images only.
Also, shameless plug, Kenny did a webinar with us a couple of months ago, and that webinar is on that webinar webpage Phil gave you. He actually listed and showed a ton of different tools for specific applications that you're using AI for.
Yeah,
there's good questions,
TV.
Yeah, there's another question about how much time and training to use AI effectively. I should have shown an example of this, but to do the web host, you could just go to your chat options, and there's an option to enable the web host, and it's enabled. You don't have to there's no training, there's nothing there. And the video piece is the same kind of thing, where you tell it what recorded sermon that you want it to suggest the video clips from. It will take a while to process, so be patient. It's best to choose your video and then come back later, because it goes through and does all these steps for you. But there's no training at all needed. The web host, you just turn it on. I mean, for the streaming church tools.
Yeah, for the streaming church tool. And Harry, the training actually has been done behind the scenes for you. So the web host is going to know what church you are, what service times you have, and a lot of general information about your ministry that's already in your admin panel and website. And so that's how it's going to have already been basically trained for what you need it to do.
Yeah. I guess maybe I missed. There's a couple ways to read that question. I was thinking the personnel in the church, they don't really need any training, but yeah, you can also, the AI is trained through
Yes.
the model as well.
We
Another
do have
question
help videos.
from Vision of Life Ministries. How can one incorporate AI with the Roku platform?
We haven't explored anything there, but
Good question and a good
it's
thought.
yeah. I think
There are
once
so
it's
many.
I think it's kind of like I got this new toolbox that I didn't think about all these things. And now that, I've got this project around the house and I got this new toolbox, I can use that toolbox to do this, that before I couldn't, wouldn't know before. So I think I don't know, the sky's the limit, what would we want to do with Roku?
I think it's important to note that this stuff is new and it's going to continue to evolve and it's going to get better and there's going to be new things to do. I had a question about how adaptable is the tool to voices from other regions. My understanding is it's quite adaptable. The voice cloning thing, I could have put Steve, I could have given Steve the clone. It could have been speaking in Spanish. It could have been speaking in French.
Or accented.
Or accented. I could have a UK English accent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And none of these things are perfect. We want to emphasize that nothing's perfect here. But here's a question for you: the sermon clipper, which was the last part of what we were talking about here, Steve, the taking the sermon and cutting it down into snippets. Is that only available through streamingchurch.tv, or can people use this with another service, or do they have to have streamingchurch.tv to use their sermon clipper?
Currently, it's a tool built into streamingchurch.tv. So we did a conference here recently last week, Mike and I in Dallas, and we had other people come up very interested in the sermon clipper. And we have 30-day free trial. So they just go off and create a free trial account and you can use the sermon clipper. You can upload your own sermons and give it a try and see if it's going to work for you.
I can testify to the sermon clipper. For me, as the guy that does our social media and our content creation, it has revolutionized for me. I'm going to be able to take this webinar and cut it into bite-sized clips that will then go to social media channels throughout all of our network and point people towards the recording of this webinar. So it allows your sermon to get people with a small fun, something that you said that was very poignant during the sermon, or finds those important pieces of the sermon or talk, clips them out, gives you that video, and then you can put it out in the world and say, here the rest of it, click here, and it takes you to your recordings. I love this tool. It is so helpful with what I do. I'm a little selfish, I'll be honest. I thank you for building it for me, Steve.
Yeah, and I use when I'm writing blogs, it's important to notice that these are tools to help you. So when I write a blog, I do look at Bard or Chat GPT and get information from that. But then I go through it to double check that it's correct. And also I personalize. It's not just AI thing, personal. So it's important to know that you can use these things, the tool to speed up. It's an asset to help you do your job better.
Yes.
So, okay.
Exactly.
Any other questions here, guys, as we wrap up here?
Really good.
All right. Good deal. We good? Going once, going twice? Folks, you can get this webinar. Just send us an email, support@streamingchurch.tv, and just put in the subject line AI tools. And you can always go to these things you're looking at on your screen right now. If we can help you in any way, that is what we're here for. That is what we want to do. We love helping churches, helping ministries. So that's what it's all about. Thank you, Mr. Michael Gray and Mr. Steve Lacy. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Glad to be here.
And folks, thank you for spending some time on the webinar. Have yourself a great day. We'll catch you next time on our next webinar, brought to you by streamingchurch.tv. God bless.